On November 30th, 2022, ChatGPT 3.5 was released. The system astounded me. It felt like I was interacting with a human, and for some domains of question, it was like talking to an expert. It became the fastest growing user base in 2 months, amounting to 100 million monthly active users. 1 month later, OpenAI released ChatGPT 4, which feels like an exceptional portable assistant with a multi-dimensional 150 plus IQ knowledge base. In November of 2023, they achieved 100 million weekly active users. ChatGPT certainly challenges our understanding of the Turing test and has raised conversation about the emergence of a super intelligent AGI. This is all to say, something unlike what we have ever seen is here. I've become obsessed with pondering how artificial intelligence, such as ChatGPT, affects humanity. What if artificial general intelligence, an AI capable of performing an intelligent task a human can, defined in this piece as a highly autonomous system that outperforms humans at most economically valuable work, arises? What if it already has? Many questions about what humans will do in the wake of this event arises to the forefront. What are its intentions? Will we be okay? What does this mean for all those employees? What other jobs will be created, if any? What does this mean for the economy? What does this mean for human sense of purpose? How should society be structured? Will we retain control over that AGI? The list goes on and on. I would love to think through all of these, but today specifically, I will grapple with the following. Where does the money go from jobs displaced by AGI? How do people get money if AGI wipes out their careers? And how does it affect the economy? Should the money flow to the company that deployed the AGI? Following our current economic model, we end up in the situation where the companies that provide the AIs will generate revenue with the money that was once an employee's paycheck. This is a dangerous track to take. The money that once sustained the individual and their family is now in the pocket of whoever can create the best AI model, leaving people careerless and moneyless. I'm not proposing a dissolution of capitalism, no thanks, Marx, but an exception in the case of AI. I'm contemplating how we can ensure we have the appropriate safeguards to protect against mass job displacement in the age of AI. Imagine the conversation. I'm going to have to let you go. Can't support this role anymore, and we're going to use AI going forward. Thank you for all your hard work and good luck. Would you want something to be in place as a safeguard for you and your family if presented with this situation? The current model's centralized nature raises concerns about the concentration of power, particularly when AI can influence many aspects of society. Similarly, the lack of transparency in decision-making and fund allocation becomes increasingly critical as AI systems potentially make more autonomous decisions and take jobs. The traditional structures will likely not be robust enough to facilitate the support of a mass layoff due to AGI job takeover. There is a solution, however, here that provides a worthwhile thought and discussion. I want to explore it today. An AI marketplace that can rely on fellow AI deployed on a decentralized, self-sufficient, secure, and censorship-resistant distributed network. This model presents an opportunity for a flexible distribution of resources and more democratic governance in an AI-dominated landscape until the AI can govern itself upon reaching AGI status. Some recoil at the mention of blockchain. This is not an investment pitch, but an exploration of how we might navigate a monumental shift soon. Focus here is on frontier exploration, and blockchain is part of that conversation. In today's piece, we'll walk through the impact of AI in the job market, its effect on the economy, the necessity for a new distribution and governance model, and how to actually implement that model. Before we start discussing where the money goes from displaced jobs and the distribution model of AI, we first need to understand the following. Will AI actually replace jobs, and if so, to what extent? AI in the workplace. AI has beckoned forward the conversation of human job displacement. And I've been thinking about this a lot since the release of ChatGPT and the subsequent rapid growth of AI products and services. Nearly every time an emerging technology appeared, people worried that it would take their jobs. Yet, it created more jobs for humans. In history, when there was an emerging technology that threatened jobs, people worried, but in retrospect, it created more jobs. Examples include the Luddites, destroying industrial machines, worrying that skilled labor would disappear without seeing the benefits that would come from the Industrial Revolution. More recent examples include the advent of computers, causing anxieties that machines will replace man, without realizing that jobs like podcaster, video game streamer, and YouTuber, blog writer would exist. Automation has mostly opened up new and less mundane tasks for humans. I fear saying this time might be different because it's a common sentiment that this is a dangerous assumption. This time might be different is usually the quickest way to be wrong about a trend. But I think this time it might be different. We're living through the most significant technological inflection point in known human history, birth of AGI. The best way to look at the potential for AI to take human jobs is through various future trajectories that humanity can take. In my research, I came across a piece by Anton Kornak, an economic professor specializing in AI research, who published a post with the IMF titled Scenario Planning for an AGI Future. In this piece, he proposed the concept of the frontier of automation, which can be thought of as a task complexity that machines are capable of, including both mechanical, which is physical world work, and cognitive, which are abstract reasoning skills. He observes, which I think is quite clear, that task complexity that AI is capable of has increased. This begs the question, will AI become so capable that it surpasses all of the current and potential tasks that humans can do? Or as AI can do more human tasks, will humans become capable of doing more undiscovered tasks? The scenarios are determined by the unbound and bounded charts demonstrated. To summarize, is the distribution of all tasks in the known and unknown world capable of being performed by humans? Or is there a limit on what task humans can perform? If there's a limit, we have a bounded distribution. If there's no limit, we have an unbounded distribution. The author presents three following scenarios. 1. Traditional. The world of unbounded task distribution. As AI frees up humans for new jobs, the complexity of tasks a human can do is expanded as humans continue to reveal undiscovered jobs. In this scenario, new jobs are constantly created, and AI might replace specific jobs but open up more meaningful ones. Second is base AGI, which is a bounded distribution with a base case of a 20-year point to which we get AGI, recall our definition from the beginning, when all human jobs disappear, but the AGI surpasses our maximum task complexity capability. This means no more tasks are created that we can do more effectively than the AGI. And the third scenario is an aggressive AGI, a bounded distribution, aggressive case of 5 years, in which we see the same scenario as scenario 2 above, but on a faster timescale. Simply, it looks something like on the screen, with traditional being the blue line, base being this yellow line, and aggressive being the third line. The author posits that this would increase productivity and wage growth as follows. If we get any scenario that looks like baseline or aggressive, it's clear that while productivity is vastly more substantial, wages will be materially zero. This means that nearly everyone isn't making money, highlighting the need for a value distribution model that includes those who lost jobs due to AI, which is almost everyone in the scenario. Productivity explosion is noteworthy, and we'll discuss that later. First, let's consider which trajectory AI will likely take and which we should plan for as a society. The answer to this question isn't clear. Since the idea has been such a prominent topic, many influential and relevant figures have weighed in, which helps amalgamate the viewpoints of the experts. Elon Musk said in an interview with Rishi Sunak,
it's hard to say exactly what that moment is, but there will come a point where no job is needed. You can have a job if you want to have a job for sort of personal satisfaction, but the AI will be able to do everything.
Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, said with Lex Fridman, and this is me paraphrasing, AI will create a world with better jobs, meaning jobs you do for fulfillment rather than just to put food on the table. He believes it will create jobs that are difficult for us to imagine, and that of the job losses hit soonest, customer service comes to mind. I asked the Singularity subreddit this question, and the response seems to favor a bounded distribution. In this current moment, it's hard to predict 1, 2, or 3 is more likely, being that we're on what it feels like the midst of the exponential curve. I'm not exactly sure what will happen. Speaking from logic, though, if we create intelligence that exceeds human cognitive and mechanical capabilities, which can operate 24/7, 365, is embedded in humanoid robots, is cheaper for companies to maintain than an employee, and is even safer than if a human did it, it no longer makes sense for the humans to do the current jobs, especially if it's safer for AI. Would it not be imperative for us to let them step in? This flow of logic makes it hard for me to see an unbounded distribution. I think scenario 2 is the most likely. However, I'm not unconvinced that we are somewhere on the curve towards 3. By this point, Idealists may be upset that I believe AI won't be a net job creator, and the skeptic may be bitter I haven't already discussed the world ending. I don't know, and I don't think anyone can know exactly how this will play out. However, we can have a hopeful future regardless. In the event of scenario 1, it's business as usual. And 2 and 3, the world will have so much more productivity and output that we can have a beautiful future. Still, we need to get the value distribution and governance right. If we get scenario 1, where AI creates better and more meaningful jobs, there must be a transition plan for those who lose theirs. So now that we have navigated the evolving landscape of AI's role in employment, it's become imperative to step back and cast a wider net encompassing economic and social realms. Let's understand how AGI can transform our collective economic future if we don't adapt so that we can attempt to build a frame for what the solution really needs to do. Post-AGI Economics in a human task-bounded world. If we assume that the frontier of automation, as defined above, continues to improve exponentially due to the advances of AI, and scenarios 2 or 3, or some bounded distribution timeline occurs, we are faced with a fundamental question. How does this impact society and our economics? Let's imagine a world where we see this AI revolution coming, but we follow suit with the satirical, yet unnervingly accurate, "Don't look up." Where would we be if all the competing interests ended up making us incapable of passing policy or moving forward with a solution for the masses who lose their jobs? This will happen in 2 ways, gradually, then suddenly. First, we'll see unemployment slowly start to tick up, and people will have difficulty finding a job in their careers. The jobs that will be hit first are those with cognitive tasks that the average current AI model can perform. While managers and employees don't want to see human colleagues out of a job, a slowdown in the economy will eventually make this inevitable, especially considering the public company's shareholder primacy. This imposes a duty upon the board of directors to put the interests of the shareholders above all others. In an economic recession, cost-cutting initiatives will undoubtedly look to automation and AI to replace human labor, which is bound to be significantly cheaper. Once companies start to do this, all other competing companies must do the same, as shareholders will want the company to retain and increase its value, and to stay competitive, they must apply similar initiatives. Assuming we're in a task-bounded world and AGI emerges along with robotics as dexterous as humans, not too far away, the flow of replacing human labor applies and will happen quite suddenly. What happens to the salaries that once sustained those humans in their jobs? That money is now going into the pocket of the company who developed the AI tools, now operating in those positions. This means that those who lose jobs will no longer have money to sustain themselves, and looking for a new job in that domain is no longer a consideration, considering AI performs the job. So what happens to them? They need to find a way to generate money, but can no longer perform a service that generates income because it is done by AI. The world is one where companies operating the best AI models rule the world. Those companies will receive the value once distributed to the employees. However, the world will be abundant, and the poverty floor will be significantly raised. Supposing nearly every step of a supply chain is automated, and 99% of all companies that generate products and services don't need to pay employees. In that case, the cost of basic human necessities will be close to zero, if not at zero. Costs of shelter, food, clothing, and medical care will be so low that you may only need a little money to get those things easily. The world will be a beautiful place in terms of output, but I think we need to get the wage part correctly, at least for the transitionary period. Although I'm not entirely sure what role money plays in post-AGI world, I do think the importance of a new value distribution and governance model needs to apply. There is a better way, and we need to get this right and manage this transition so we can all benefit. What is the best way to manage this transition? David Shapiro, an AI thought leader, presents a compelling case for this throughout his YouTube channel, specifically in his video, How Do We Get UBI in Post-Labor Economics, Decentralized Ownership, the New Social Contract. Shapiro outlines transition to post-labor economics due to AI advancements, predicting 4 phases leading to widespread job displacement and shorter work weeks. He champions decentralized ownership via DAOs and stakeholder capitalism for fair wealth distribution, aligning with reimagined social contracts and evolving government role. I was intrigued to find someone else thinking about managing this transition using decentralized tools and means. We can use blockchain to develop a uniquely decentralized, secure, and transparent ownership structure for every individual affected by an AI job market takeover. Let's talk about blockchain's role in all of this. Before we do that, please like the video and subscribe if you're enjoying, and for more content just like this. How blockchain can fix this. Blockchain and AI have more than one synergy, such as providing transparency over the data AI models are trained on. However, for the sake of this piece, I will focus specifically on the distribution of funds and governance. Succinctly, the problem I've been teasing is that we don't have a clean way to distribute money to individuals to at least maintain the standard of living they had before losing their jobs. There are other options for those of you who recall at the idea of blockchain, all of which involve the requirement of our trust in either the government, the company deploying the AI, or a third-party auditor. We can, 1, introduce a robotics/AI tax where any company using an AI is taxed, which is used to fund a pool that distributes UBI, Universal Basic Income. Or 2, we can write federal policy to distribute company ownership among those who lose their jobs. These are not awful solutions. These are at least attempts at solutions. Solution 1 effectively gets to what I'm trying to solve with blockchain, but the distribution is performed through traditional channels and from the government. I, however, have a hard time trusting this over time when we can embed the trust in software. Solution 2 would likely involve a public-private partnership and various audit checkpoints to ensure that the company meets its obligations. We'd have to go back to the old way of doing accountability checks through audits, which are not real-time and have their faults. The problem with this solution is more of a technical one. This data and information would sit on a database of that specific AGI creating company. I'm not opposed to them, but I think a better one exists. The solution was brought to life on January 3rd, 2009. Blockchain. In Frontier Letter number 3, an exploration into the role blockchain technology will play in the future of our world, I state, blockchain is simply a list of transactions, a ledger, that is maintained by anybody who chooses to preserve the integrity of everything that is stored and processed by that ledger. Traditionally, that list is in a database, and the database owner has oversight and final say over the information in that list. Blockchains made it possible for individuals to now collectively maintain the list securely so that they could receive the security benefits of a bank maintaining this list. But you actually have full and complete control over your money, given that you hold it in a crypto wallet. This metaphor extrapolates to any company that holds any data in their database that you would prefer full autonomy and decision-making power over, including artificial intelligence companies that develop AGI, which will likely perform your job better than you at some point. As mentioned, we need to get the value and governance right. Here's what that means and how blockchain delivers. When I say value, I mean monetary value in the distribution of funds. Companies do this with stocks. Blockchains do this with tokens. The value distribution of stocks typically is heavily weighted towards founders, board members, and large investors, appropriately as designed, which bodes for a not-so-good design in the case of AGI taking over jobs. Blockchain allows this distribution to be decentralized and automatically distributed to individuals through smart contracts. In the same way a token is assigned value, can also be given voting rights, with specific hard-coded rules about how the votes are weighted, giving us flexibility and giving the more knowledgeable about AGI the capability to provide more steering power. I don't know the exact framework of how this is set up, but we do have some examples of blockchain projects already trying to implement this, such as SingularityNet. SingularityNet is a marketplace for AIs to interact with one another by calling on each other's APIs when they need a service to be performed by another specialist AI. It's basically a marketplace for AI. This is very similar to what I'm discussing, so it is an interesting case to study, but I'm not going to do that in this specific video. My general thought about SingularityNet is that they have thoughts similar to what I laid out in this video. I need to take some time to think more deeply about the token distribution. It's difficult to understand what level of centralization is necessary, if at all. Thankfully, blockchain allows us to experiment with different blockchain parameters in public. Critical piece SingularityNet got right is the correct blockchain, Cardano. I think it's poised to be the most decentralized, secure, sustainable, and scalable programmable blockchain protocol, which is paramount for AGI to be deployed on, or it will become a company with extra steps. Fundamentally, the blockchain with AGI needs to be manipulation-proof and extraordinarily secure, which I think Cardano has the highest likelihood of being. There are many reasons for why Cardano, as I explained in Frontier Letter number 5, and I think that with the introduction of partner chains, as laid out in Frontier Letter number 7, a new paradigm makes the deployment of blockchain AGI more reasonable than previously allowed. We can deeply explore similar concepts to SingularityNet, but as a service layer, given the extraordinary level of computing are required to operate AR. The deployment infrastructure can make trade-offs to favor AI deployment. What's key is the Minotaur protocol, which provides joint consensus, allowing that service layer to outsource security and decentralization from Cardano, as well as a dual token model to split the function of the tokens. Token 1 would be a fuel token, which can have a tokenomics model which favors stable pricing and is what's used by the AGIs to communicate with one another to make payments in a marketplace. Token 2 would be the token deployed on the Cardano base layer concerned with ownership and governance. I will save a deep dive for a later video that if you would like to keep up with, then you could subscribe to the channel. The token distribution and voting specifics need a broader discussion. Is there a council who has a heavier weighting of votes? Should the company that develops the AGI get 10% of the tokens and the rest of the population receive an airdrop of the remaining 90%? Should it be 80-20? How do we ensure that no one creates duplicate wallets to receive more than one's fair share? How do we verify that they are actual humans, something like the WorldCoin orb? The answer is unclear. So societal, moral, and technical questions remain. But we need to think through these things to arrive at a beautiful world of abundance we can experience if we land the AGI plane correctly. To conclude, I don't think we should slow the pace of AGI growth because it will be a beautiful feat of humanity that will also create a significant world of abundance, which will probably be so magnificent that the humans living in the era of this dream world we are discussing will look back at us today and utter awe of the effort required from us to obtain the necessities of life that we currently do. To bring this dream world to life, we need the infrastructure to transition from the present to the dream. That required infrastructure is humanity's involvement in the AGI's value accrual and decision-making to some capacity. As far as I see it, the current best way to make this deployment is a blockchain, specifically a service layer on Cardano. That allows humanity to participate in the reception of funds and the voting of where we should steer the wheel as we approach AI. I'm not an AI expert. I am an explorer trying to discern information living outside the world of understanding. That means I may not get these things right, so it's important that you comment, share, and subscribe to have this conversation as a community, bringing in as many voices as possible. I hope you all enjoyed. I look forward to hearing from all of you. Please share with your friends, family, coworkers who you think would love to discuss this topic. I hope you all have a beautiful week, and I hope to chat soon. Thank you, everyone.